Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chocolate Travels. I'm here with Génesis from Okanta in Colombia. So hello, Génesis. Nice to meet you.
We're really happy to have this space to tell you a bit more about our story.
Wonderful. So why don't you go ahead and tell us who you are, who everyone is there, and what you do with cacao.
Perfect. So let's introduce ourselves. Sorry, I'm going to start with me. I'm Génesis Carrillo. I'm the sales leader for Okanta Cacao. And right now we are in one of our post-harvest centers. We have 3 different in Colombia. We are right now in Boyacá. And I'm not alone. I'm with Anyi. She's our operation coordinator. And Silvia is the representative of one of the smallholder farmers that works with us. And they are going to be with us to answer some of the questions.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you. Nice to meet all of you. So let's start with, where did the name Okanta come from and what meaning does it carry?
Okay, pregunta por el significado de la palabra Okanta. Voy a responder esta. Okanta is the combination of 2 words. We combined Okonta, which translates cocoa tree or cacao tree. I prefer to say cacao. Cacao tree in Muso. Muso is an indigenous language that of an indigenous tribe that lives in this area. And we combined Okonta, which means cacao tree, with Encanta, which means enchanting. So we try to we combine both words and we have Okanta.
How and why was Okanta formed in the first place? How did it all come together?
Okay, está preguntando acerca de por qué se creó Okanta y cómo se creó. Voy a responder esto. Let's start with the most important thing, that is the why. We saw, and everybody can see, there's a gap between the farmers' capabilities and the farmers' needs and the chocolate makers' needs and capabilities. Chocolate makers are there looking for different experiences, looking for innovating through chocolate to offer new experiences and flavor to the consumers, to their clients. But sourcing is kind of difficult for them. And farmers have all the experience about the cacao crop, but it's difficult for them working alone to get to international markets. So that's why we wanted to create Okanta, but we didn't want to be just another intermediary. We just didn't want to buy cacao and sell cacao. We wanted to potentialize, to strengthen the smallholder farmers' capabilities so they can reach those markets and they can create a long-term business model. So that's why we created a company between private capital and smallholder farmers. So the cacao farmer is not just going to be a supplier, but it's part of the business, it's a shareholder. And that's why we created Okanta.
Okay. What benefit does this have for the farmers?
Okay, I think for this question, the best person to answer that is Silvia. Silvia is a farmer. ¿Hace cuánto tiempo cultivas cacao? She has been growing cacao for more than 14 years. I think she's the perfect one for solve question. In addition, she's the legal representative of one of the associations that we work with. So I'm going to translate this question for her. Silvia, preguntan cuáles son los beneficios que tiene Okanta o en qué se beneficia el productor.
En la asistencia técnica. En la asistencia técnica porque pues en el momento de que se hace, tenemos un intercambio de conocimientos. Nosotros como productores aprendemos de los técnicos que nos van a dictar las charlas y ellos aprenden de nosotros pues porque estamos más metidos en el cultivo, entonces es como un intercambio de saberes.
Okay, I'm going to translate that first. The first thing that she mentioned is technical assistance. We have a technical assistance program where technicians go to their farms And it's not like an imposition, it's like a knowledge exchange because they have been growing cacao for many years. So we consider this is a knowledge exchange. And so everybody can learn how to increase the productivity and the quality of the cacao they produce.
El otro es porque vendemos el cacao en baba y al venderlo en baba entonces nos estamos economizando pues el transporte y todo el proceso de post cosecha.
Okay, the second aspect is that Okanta collects cacao, not dry cacao beans, but wet cacao or fresh cacao. Here in Spanish, we call it cacao en baba. And for doing that, we collect this cacao from every farm. We visit every farm to collect this cacao. So the farmer is saving time and labor in this post-harvest drying, fermentation, and all this process involved with the post-harvest.
Okay. So you go to the farmers or they come to you?
I mean, we have a logistic work and we go to every farm.
Y también pues porque tenemos, hacemos formamos empresa y un negocio de largo plazo, porque la cantidad de cacao que saquemos nosotros, pues siempre vamos a tener una persona que siempre nos lo va a comprar.
Okay, the third aspect is creating a business with a long-term vision. Because Okanta buys all the cacao that is produced for the farmers that work with us. So they have some, what is the word? They have some warranty that there's going to be somebody that is going to grow the cocoa. Yes. Some warranty. Also, they are sure that all the production has it's going to be bought by Okanta.
Okay, I see. Because sometimes farmers, they grow the cacao, but maybe they don't have anyone to purchase it, right? And they can...
Yeah, sometimes there's not stability. Sometimes there's some intermediaries or some industries that buys cacao in some seasons. Sometimes they don't, so those weeks they don't buy, but they have this, they are sure that we are going to visit their farms at least once every week and we are going to buy all the cacao that they produce.
What were the main challenges that you faced when bringing these farmers together? The logistics, anything like that? Were there any challenges or was it pretty easy?
No, pregunta que si fue fácil hacer todo el ejercicio, así que this question I'm going to translate for Anyi. She's our operations coordinator, the one that faces all the challenges when conforming Okanta. So she's going to tell us, pregunta cuáles fueron los principales desafíos cuando tratamos de crear este modelo de negocio.
Hola a todos. Bueno, el principal desafío es construir confianza en el territorio, con los productores, con las organizaciones y pues con la empresa privada. Segundo desafío.
Okay. She said the main challenge is generating trust. It's difficult to generate trust in rural zones in countries like Colombia because, you know, there's a story of conflict. So most difficult thing was generating trust with farmers, with association, with other entities or projects involved with the cacao supply chain. So this first part was most difficult.
And how do you build that trust?
Bueno, se genera confianza incluyendo a los productores en las propuestas de cómo hacerlo. Entonces, son muchas reuniones donde se empieza a construir el cómo hacerlo, donde ellos dan ideas, luego donde probamos cómo hacerlo y digamos que luego en el hacer viene el tema de cumplir lo que se construyó en las reuniones con ellos.
First is that the first step to build this trust is to treat the farmer just not as a beneficiary, just a recipient, but as a decision maker. So all the decisions were taken considering farmers participated. They participated in all kinds of decisions. So they felt not only that they felt they were important, but they knew that the ideas, their concerns were considered. And the second step, which is the most difficult, is just walk the talk. If you promise you were going to build a post-harvest center, this is
You better have it.
the center. If you promise that you visit every farm every week, just do it.
Right, right.
Just honoring your word and walking the talk. I think Angie wants to complete the answer.
Yes, of
El
course.
segundo desafío, luego de que estamos de acuerdo en trabajar juntos, es adaptar o empezar a cumplir un nuevo modelo comercial. En Colombia, la comercialización del cacao se hace en grano seco todo el tiempo. Entonces es decirle al agricultor que ahora vamos a cambiar y que le vamos a comprar cacao en baba con una metodología de precio distinta y con una metodología de compra distinta que incluye el tema de bancarización. Entonces no vas a tener tu dinero en efectivo, sino tienes que abrir una cuenta en el banco y nosotros luego de 1 o 2 días de haberte comprado el cacao, habernoslo llevado, te vamos a consignar a tu cuenta. Entonces esa es la otra parte compleja.
The other challenge was to change the commercialization model, which means here in Colombia, I don't know in other countries, cacao is commercialized as dry cacao beans. So every farmer ferments and dries their cocoa and goes to the next village, and then they sell the cacao. Explaining to the farmers that we were going to visit them, so they had to be ready some hours before we go there. And explaining all this model was really difficult. And the other difficulty is that we wanted to create financial opportunities for farmers. What does it mean? We were not going to pay with cash, which is typical in agricultural operations. We were going to pay them with bank transfers. And this was completely brand new. This needed a lot of work. But right now, 100% of our farmers receive their pay not by cash, but with bank transfers.
Okay.
It was revolutionary, completely brand new. But
Why do
finally they liked it.
why do you prefer bank transfer instead of cash?
Que porque preferimos hacerlo con transferencias bancarias y no más fácil con efectivo.
Uno por el tema de seguridad, porque tendrías que ir por caminos veredales con ciertos montos de dinero y podría ser un tema inseguro. Y 2, porque, y la más importante, porque pues es incluir al campesino en la economía formal. En Colombia no pasa esto. Cuando ellos van a solicitar créditos a entidades bancarias, se les niegan porque no tienen historial crediticio en movimientos bancarios. Entonces, al incluirlos en este sistema formal, van a poder demostrar movimientos bancarios y compra segura de su producto, con lo cual pueden acceder al sistema financiero.
The first thing is safety. But the second one, and maybe most importantly, is that we wanted to promote between farmers what we call a legal economy, which means usually farmers, they don't have bank accounts, which means if they need a credit for buying a farm or for any investment, they are denied because they don't exist. They have a credit history, they don't have nothing to support them. So if they need an investment for sending their schools to the university, for buying something or investing in any farm or any machinery or something that they want to buy, they are denied. So that's why we wanted to do this. And this also changed the way they manage the money. That's maybe something that we are going to delve in later.
Okay, those are really good points.
Sorry, there's something else.
Yeah.
El tercer desafío.
Because it was difficult, sorry. She has to explain.
El tercer desafío es, luego de haber construido entre los dos la propuesta del cómo, luego de haberlo hecho, el tercer desafío, el más importante, es reconstruirlo en acción. Y es lo que no está funcionando bien, volver a tratar de ordenarlo o de cambiarlo para que todas las partes estén acordes, porque pues todas las dinámicas son cambiantes, entonces el tener un ejercicio de comunicación entre las partes nos permite actualizarnos, cambiar lo que no funciona para que, digamos, todo continúe bajo un nivel de confianza y el modelo funcione.
Yeah, and the third challenge, that is an ongoing challenge, is to make adjustment of the plan, because you have a perfect plan and then you see reality and you see there's different challenges in different areas. It's not the same. Every area is different. So making adjustment to the plan and having a clear, open, and timely communication, it's an ongoing challenge.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So you're a joint venture, not a co-op. What is the difference for people that don't know?
Okay, I'm going to explain how we operate. We are a joint venture, farmer association, and private capital. Why? Let's first explain why and then how it works. I think we wanted to combine the best of the two worlds: farmers' traditions, knowledge, experience, capability of producing cacao, high quality specialty cacao, and the private capital brings all the experience about building a business, creating a business model, reaching international market. We have done several exports, which is sometimes challenging, very challenging for smallholder farmer associations. So we created a joint venture to consolidate this. I think it's like a marriage. We wanted to consolidate these both parts. And so how it works, as I was telling you before, farmers are not just cacao suppliers. They are shareholders, which means the decisions have to be made together. The share, or if everything goes well, we both win. So this is something that you cannot dissolve. We have to work together. That's why we created a joint venture, so we can be sure that the farmer is the center of our value proposition.
And who decides how much farmers sell their cacao for? How does that work?
About pricing, yes, we have a strategy here in Colombia. There's a pricing mechanism that is calculated with considering international markets, imports, and exports. And typically, industry sets a price. We have maybe differently than other countries in Latin America. We have a strong industry, and they set every week they set a price. So we are always monitoring its prices, the prices of this industry, the prices for that offer intermediaries, because in very remote areas, industry don't come to buy. There's always intermediaries, the ones coming here to buy.
Right.
Once every week we define this price, and we add what we call a premium price, so we can guarantee all the time that cacao farmers receive approximately a 7% better income by not only price, but considering that they are saving the money to transport the cacao to the nearest village, and they don't have to spend 12, 20 days doing the fermentation and the drying, because when it's sunny, it's really fast, but when it's rainy, it's very difficult. So we are always assuring that there's this additional income for them.
So it sounds like there's a lot of benefits from the farmer's point of view. I mean, you are taking, not only are you buying the cacao and guaranteeing you'll buy it, but you also take away some of their work and you do it yourselves. So are there farmers who you approach and they say, no, I'm not interested? And if so, why are they hesitant to get on board if it sounds like it's a better idea for them?
This one of the things that we defined when creating Okanta is that this business model was not going to be mandatory. So only farmers that are interested, they participate, even if the associations that we are working, if they don't want to sell their cacao, if they have better clients,
Right.
they can do it. I don't know if I solved your question.
Yeah, no, I was just curious, why some farmers might not want to, if they, if it seems like it benefits them. Do you know any reasons of why they don't want to? I'm just curious.
Well, this could be a reason, and it's trust. Maybe maybe people in other countries cannot imagine, but people is really worried about doing business with someone that is new.
Right.
So I think once we have some legitimacy in the territory, most of the farmers decide to sell us because they trust.
Right.
But for example, paying with bank accounts is a barrier. Some of them don't like it. They prefer cash. That's sometimes a barrier.
Okay. Interesting. And so what can you all tell us about the cacao that you process? So the regions, the types of cacao, genetics, flavor. What can you tell us about Okanta Cacao?
Perfect. We have operations in 3 different regions of the country. We have an operation here in Boyacá, in the Boyacá department. We have another one in Vista Hermosa, Meta, that is in the Meta department, and a third one that is called Upia, in a village called Barranca de Upia in the Meta department. So we have 3 different regions. Everyone has their characteristics. Everyone has different genetics. There's a lot of we have counted and we have track of all the genetics that we have, and we have more than 35 different genetics. Because why so many? Because when we approach the territories, they already had the cacao crops, and there was a lot of different actors trying to promote cacao between farmers, because if you know, cacao is a crop to substitute coca, for example.
Right.
So there were many different promoting different genetics. So farmers, in just one farm, you can have 5, 10 different genetics. But it's great because we can have a broad portfolio of cacao that we can offer. I think that genetics like colors.
The fact that you have so many genetics, do you find this a challenge, or is that a benefit, or is it mixed?
Yes, it's a mix, but I'm going to share this question with Andy. Nos pregunta que si tener tantas genéticas diferentes es bueno o también es un desafío.
Es un desafío, pero es la realidad del pequeño productor colombiano. Entonces, para nosotros es una oportunidad. Es la forma de centralizar post cosecha y permitirles a ellos una calidad homogenizada para oportunidad, y el modelo de negocio es quien lo soluciona, digámoslo así.
Yes, for operation, it's a challenge because in many cases, the post-harvest process is not exactly the same for different genetics. So for us, it's really difficult, but it's the reality of the farmers, the smallholder farmers in Colombia.
Right.
It's difficult to change that. But for us, it's opportunity. I think that it's a challenge that is solved by doing this post-harvest in a specialized place. If every farmer is doing the post-harvest the way they consider the better, that is impossible. There's no way to standardize the quality of your product.
Right.
So that's how we solve it.
Is there any opportunity to maybe separate the genetics at the farm level so that you can ferment differently, or is that too complicated?
Yeah, in some farms.
Okay.
There's some farms that have 1, 2, or 3 genetics, and in those cases we can separate In some others, we are not going to be able to do this. We have done some exports even with blends, but it's not a random blend. It's
Right.
a blend that has a specific percentages of specific genetics.
Okay.
But yes, it's really difficult. But for some customers' requests, we can do it.
How would you describe the flavors of your different types of cacao?
Wow, I think there's a huge variety. All the genetics that we manage are considered a special cocoa, fine flavor cocoa. We have a lot of between 35 genetics we can find floral flavor, nutties, fruities. But it's interesting, but because there is not like a perfect genetic. I think with this kind of blends or combination, we can find what the chocolate maker is looking for.
That's a good point too, because genetics is important. If you have a really bad quality cacao, there's only so much you can do with it. But like you said, if it's centralized, then you have a lot of control and overseeing how everything comes together, so you can really control the flavor.
Yeah, it's amazing how controlling this process can change or enhance the flavor of different genetics.
I'm curious too, do you guys eat the fruit a lot over there?
Voy a preguntarles a ellos para que ellos preguntan qué tanto consumimos, como vemos nosotros cacao, y que si el productor o nosotros en territorio notamos las diferencias entre una genética y la otra. ¿Qué dice Silvia?
Pues nosotros consumimos muy poquito, realmente muy poquito cacao. Dejamos una parte de lo que cosechamos para nosotros, pero en cuanto a la genética, sí. Nosotros personalmente siempre dejamos de una sola variedad que nos parece más dulce, tiene un aroma mejor.
Hay preguntas que si la saben identificar.
Sí, sí. Uno siempre ya, pues de los genes genéticas que tienen en la finca, pues uno ya lo sabe diferenciar. Y sabe cuáles son más dulces, cuáles son un poquito más ácidos.
Yes, they are also very critical of the cocoa. Silvia is telling us that yes, they can identify the genetics because most of them have been farmers from 20 years, 30 years. So they really know the cocoa and they can identify, they notice the flavors. And it's very typical to do some sensory trials, even with just dry cocoa beans. So they identify the flavors, they identify the genetics. And even though she says that we don't consume a lot of cacao, maybe it's different than other countries of Latin America. Colombian people consume a lot of chocolate, maybe not like bars, but like a hot beverage.
Right.
For breakfast is very typical. So yes, we consume.
And you in Colombia, I think you have a hot chocolate drink where you put mozzarella or cheese inside. What do you call that?
Yeah. Chocolate con queso. Chocolate con queso. Pregunta que...
Chocolate with cheese.
But we breakfast with chocolate with arepa. I'm sorry, I cannot translate arepa. Chocolate with
bread.
cheese.
Yeah.
And with bread, we introduce I don't know how to explain that. Mojamos chocolate. Sorry, that doesn't have a translation. But yeah, it's very difficult.
Oh, okay. Very nice, very nice. And so many chocolate makers and companies, they use this term transparency. It's very important in the bean to bar world. So how can people trust this term, and what can you tell us about the transparency of your company and your cacao?
Me está preguntando acerca de la transparencia, de cómo todo el mundo dice que somos transparentes, pero cómo realmente podemos mostrar eso. I think we have worked in something a lot is traceability. We have 100%. All cacao is traceability. The traceability, we have 100% of traceability from every farm to this post-harvest center and then to the customers. When we collect the cacao, we do it in some beans, and these beans has a code. So when I sell you some cacao, I know exactly where which farms this cacao comes from. I know the farmers. We have georeferentiated 100% of our farmers. We know exactly how many trees they have. We know how many cacao they produce per area. We have all this data. Maybe for us, the challenge is not how to communicate this, because since we don't know how, we have created some activities. For example, we have created some roadshows where customers come here and to see that all the things that we have been mentioning here are for true. And we know that there's more regulation every day regarding pest management, regarding environmental issues like deforestation, for example. We have a strict tracking of deforestation in our farms with satellite information. But maybe I would like you to tell us maybe what is the best ways to communicate all this information without being like too much. Because I know it's important for you, it's important for us. We are doing a high work with social aspects, working with the communities. We are working towards a gender approach. We are doing a lot of work promoting an agroforestry model that we consider is more sustainable. But sometimes we don't know how to communicate.
Right. No, that's a very good question. And I think consumers and the public and chocolate makers, they need evidence of your transparency, right? So, if they could visit you and you can show them and they could see the conditions and all that sort of stuff, that really helps. But, for people like me and the consumers, we live in an age today where, like what we're doing now, we have our phones and we have our Zoom and all this sort of stuff, so we can see, and I can see in your shop there and I can meet the people. I think companies like you have to have more of a face and more of a presence online. So, I think if you posted videos of the farmers when you go to pick up the cacao and show them the trees and show them your facility and talk to them and show that you're real people and that they see what you're doing, there's no mask in front, I think people would really appreciate that. That would really resonate with that. So, because I think a lot of people in your situation or chocolate makers, they don't want to brag. They don't want to make it seem kind of tacky, where this is the poor farmer and I'm helping them. It doesn't look very good, right? But at the same time, people need to hear it. People just need to hear the story. They need to see it. So you just need to put it out there, I think. That's the best way to do it, if that makes sense.
It's just fantastic to hear that, because we have started to work towards a marketing approach. All this week we have been creating interviews and videos, so we are gonna see all this information in our Instagram, that it's Okanta Cacao. There you are gonna see stories of real people, what you're saying, like Silvia, like Anyi, like that we are really proud of. So yes, it's something that we have been working on, and hopefully you are gonna see those videos really soon.
Good, excellent. No, that's good. Especially today's day and age, I think people, when they see a company and they don't know the people behind it, it's a bit more suspicious now. I think nowadays they want to see exactly who it is, especially me. I like to see that too. So wonderful. Good.
Yes, I think we were more focused on operation, on dealing with the cacao, and we kind of neglect marketing, which is key.
Yeah, and in the chocolate industry, in the fine chocolate industry, more than 50% is marketing, is what it's about. You can have amazing cacao, but if you don't know how to sell it, if you don't know how to sell yourself, people aren't going to buy it. So you have to convince them, right? So at this point, pretty much focus mostly on the marketing now too. to get it out there.
I want to take this opportunity to say that we have our doors open. We have had a couple of visits from potential customers. We can talk about that. We can organize more meeting with customers. Obviously, we're going to work through videos and social media content, but let's say that we have now an open mind, an open door, and an open heart
Wonderful.
for people if they want, if they are interested. We are more than happy to receive them here and explain them how to eat chocolate with queso, with cheese.
Queso, with the cheese. Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you. So just a couple more questions here. So with your view, and this could be you or whoever wants to answer, with your view on cacao supply chain and the craft chocolate sector, what you know so far, what do you think we need to do to foster and improve this industry? So what can chocolate makers do? What can the public do? How can we keep growing this fine cacao, fine chocolate industry?
Pregunta, ¿qué podrían hacer los chocolateros, y el consumidor de chocolate para promover este tipo de industrias? Yo voy a traer con una idea que es necesario que el consumidor pregunte y sepa de dónde viene el cacao. Porque si yo veo una barra y dice 70% y no me dice nada más, ¿cómo voy yo a saber quién lo cultiva, de dónde viene? Entonces, I think that first for customer is, I would ask them to ask the questions. As you chocolate makers, I mean, don't settle with just seeing a bar that says 70%. Go for these bars that are showing you more information, are showing you exactly where the cacao is sourced. That show you what is the relationship with the farmers and the communities. Ask them for the impact of the sourcing activities. And for chocolate makers, it's like almost the same. Ask your distributor, where does chocolate sourced? What is the relationship? How farmers are being paid? How farmers are being considered when making decisions? That's what I will say.
So consumers have to be more critical, think, ask questions, be more informed. Yeah. Anything else that anybody there wants to add? Does anyone have anything they want to share that we haven't covered yet?
Ese tipo de espacios son importantes para que el consumidor final comprenda lo que es toda la cadena de valor. Conozca desde el productor, desde las operaciones y desde todo el tema de marketing, porque muchas veces el marketing va hasta simplemente el producto final, pero no la historia detrás, y eso es lo que le falta. Entonces, este espacio donde podemos estar todos le permite al consumidor entender el contexto general, y alrededor del cacao en Colombia es como un denominador que se producen transformaciones sociales. Generalmente este cultivo llega a regiones con características de cultivos o de conflictos, y alrededor de ellas se crean unos cambios culturales y sociales. Entonces, el poder tener este espacio y que muchos consumidores en el mundo se enteren de la iniciativa que tenemos, yo creo que es la herramienta principal para que el consumidor empiece a cambiar.
Voy a traducir. Si no, se me olvida. First, she says that this kind of spaces, this kind of activities, when we can communicate, when we can show you what is going on behind that chocolate bar that consumers see in the market, are key. So I think that if consumers can see all this landscape from the farm through the companies and finally chocolate maker, they are gonna take maybe better decisions, because they are gonna be able to see all the landscape of the cacao supply chain.
That's a good point, because consumers don't know what questions to ask because they don't know what happens, right? So if they see what happens, they could start asking better questions.
Aparte del espacio de comunicación era... I'm sorry, the translation was a bit long.
Conocer la estructura social que
Okay, thanks. And the other wonderful and lovely thing about cacao is that it's a kind of activity that really changes a territory, at least in Colombia. If you see a map with the with that had or still have some conflict, and you see a map with cacao growing areas, it's pretty much the same map. And it's a kind of crop that allows us to promote environmental activities and to promote a family economy, because women can participate, sometimes kids can help with some activities. So we really believe in the transformation power of cacao. And maybe that's why I haven't explained it before. The symbol, the logo of Okanta is a butterfly. It's by chance. It's that we believe in the transformation power of in territories, in difficult areas. That's why we do this, to be honest.
And you mentioned earlier too about some of the farmers growing coca, right, instead of cacao. So do you see that this is an incentive to grow something a bit more beneficial?
Que si crees que realmente hay un incentivo para cultivar, ya que es un cultivo de sustitución, si ha funcionado, si la gente prefiere cultivar cacao y no coca.
Primero, hacer la sustitución tiene que tener disposición del productor. El segundo, el acompañamiento del Estado, y el tercero, la garantía comercial. La garantía comercial hace pues que los hogares no interrumpan su flujo de dinero al cambiar de economía, y eso es fundamental para que la disposición de mantener un cultivo distinto a la coca se sostenga en el tiempo.
For this substitution to be successful, we needed three factors. First, the farmer has to be ready for doing this change. And we have seen it a lot. Cacao is a substitution of coca, not now, like many years ago. And second one, farmer needs support. He's not going to change the reality of the country by himself.
Right.
So with some support of government or the entities, he's more than happy to do it, because it's not only their activities, but they are thinking about their children's, what kind of business they are going to inherit to them.
Right.
And the third factor is market. If they know that if they have this warranty that cacao is going to be bought, and they have a customer that is going to buy the production, they are more ready to do this change. And yes, we have seen a lot of, for example, places like here, San Pablo, in Boyacá, is a real example of substitution of coca in Colombia. It was the first place in Colombia that is 100% free of this kind of illegal crops.
Wow. I think that's really important for the public to hear that sort of thing, because they don't realize the impact of their purchasing power sometimes, right? If more people are purchasing Okanta Cacao and Okanta grows, then it encourages this sort of transfer over to grow something that is much more better, I think, for a lot of people. Definitely. Wonderful.
I think that Silvia wanted to add something.
Yes, of course.
Y bueno, estos espacios son muy importantes porque de esta manera nosotros damos a conocer la importancia que tiene el productor, porque pues si bien sabemos, esta cadena de cacao, más que la materia prima, está el productor, porque si el productor no hace esa labor, pues sencillamente no habría cacao. Entonces, son espacios muy bonitos para dar a conocer la importancia de darle ese apoyo al productor, porque realmente pues a veces queda como olvidado, y es la base para poder tener esa cadena, y pues asimismo poder tener esos conocimientos que cada vez se adquieren para mejorar, para tener más productividad. Y pues el cacao lo hay por los productores.
Great. Silvia says that she considers this kind of activities, what we are doing here, very important to highlight the importance of the farmer, because they feel that sometimes they are felt like they are behind. They don't feel like they are not important. Without farmers, without cacao farmers, there won't be chocolate.
Exactly.
And yes, they are always supporting all this supply chain. And they are so I cannot say how important they are in the supply chain. So yes, it's important that chocolate makers and consumers and people don't turn their eyes
Right.
where
Yeah.
the farmers are, what is happening to.
And I think that's a good point. You know, nowadays, like I said earlier, that we have technology, we have these phones, in places like America, chocolate makers have podcasts and they talk about chocolate and all that sort of stuff. Well, it would be amazing if people like you in Colombia could do videos and podcasts talking to farmers and learning about all that sort of stuff. That would be, I think people would love that, and it would be very important. And that's a really nice way to remind people about the presence of the farmers and how important their work is. So that'd be amazing if you could do that.
Yes, and that's exactly what we want to do. We are so, I think Angie and me and all the cacao team, or the Okanta team, is so proud of our farmers. Examples like Silvia, that she has, I know she has a lot of experience with producing cacao, but she has learned a lot. She has taken advantage of some decisions about gender equality. So now she has their own business for producing chocolate. And I think that's the transformation power that cacao has.
Right.
And a lot of examples. Back there are some guys taking care of your cacao, and they are the son of the farmers. So they are seeing that there's a way, there's an option
Opportunity
to be more professional.
Yeah.
A professional opportunity for being a cacao farmer with more knowledge. Some of them have learned about technical assistance. Some of them are creating their own small businesses. That's what we do.
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing too. I was going to ask about the children of the farmers too. And it seems like it's giving some hope to them that they're going to have more of a secure future, something that they can develop.
So to finish this interview, we really want to thank you for taking the time to prepare this interview. For us, it's a great opportunity. We would like to see you here one day because it's really hot in here, and you can enjoy this with us.
Yeah.
Just let us know when we are ready to come to Colombia to visit us. And
thank you so much. And what
see
is
all this?
What is the best way for people, chocolate makers, to contact you? Website, or how can they contact you?
We have things. We have an Instagram profile that is Okanta Cacao, Okanta with K, and we have a website, okantacacao.com. That's the main way to communicate with us.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure, and there's so much more we can talk about maybe another time, but I really appreciate all of you taking the time. It was really, really nice to meet you.
Thank
Ciao.
you.
Ciao.
Download the free Bean to Bar app to connect with incredible chocolate makers from around the world. Also, be sure to visit beantobarworld.com, your portal for all things fine chocolate, virtual tastings, free learning resources, research, and much more. Subscribe to the newsletter to stay in touch, and donate to the free app and free resources here. Contact me for any chocolate-related questions you may have.